this Holy Week will be a Holy Week unlike any other. And we know that. I think probably for the last few days or few weeks, certainly people have maybe been holding out some hope. Probably as it got closer, I think most people got into the reality that, it's probably not going to happen the way we think it's going to happen or the way we'd like it to happen. But, I can't believe it's only been 3 weeks. Like 3 weeks ago, I was in a restaurant in Los Angeles, and they were just saying, we'll probably have to close the restaurants for a while. I'm like, close restaurants? What are you, crazy talk?
I must be having a nightmare. Start pinching yourself at the table.
So to imagine that it's only been 3 weeks, and people have been dealing with different parts of the world for longer than that, of course. But here in New York, where Christina and I are, is literally the epicenter of everything that's going on in terms of cases and how bad it is and not having enough hospital beds. They were talking today on the news about hotels are now offering their rooms for hospital rooms because we've already converted the Javits Convention Center and the Meadowlands Racetrack and all these huge places, and we still are like thousands and thousands of beds short of what they're predicting we will need over the next few days.
And all those hotels are trying to use all their empty rooms too. Because no one's traveling in.
Right. Well, exactly. Yeah. And who knows if I don't know how their money is going to work, but we'll see.
Better than nobody if they're trying to help at least. Yeah.
But anyway, here we are in the epicenter. So I guess I would say, again, 3 weeks, it's so hard. It feels like it's been 6 months, but it's been 3 weeks. I'm going to just take a shot and say that as of a week ago, I bet a lot of people were still thinking, crossing the fingers, saying some rosaries, maybe we'll be able to be back inside the churches in time to celebrate Easter. Certainly the president was saying that. He said, Easter is a goal. Let's have Easter as a goal. So much more recently, this has become the realization that that's not going to happen. So, but just like anything else, I mean, I think humanly we can, whether it's part of the optimism, hope is a great virtue to have, but we can sort of put off the inevitable and just kind of like hope against it, even when it becomes inevitable. And this is not something, it's not like a surprise typhoon or tidal wave or something where, whoa, we don't know what's going to happen. We now know that Holy Week is not going to be the same. So essentially we have a choice. We can either kind of cross our arms and go, I don't like it. This is not good.
Right.
Or we can say, okay, like kind of roll with the punches, almost like I just did when you guys dropped out on the laptop. I'm like, well, let's see, what else can I do? I guess I can play the homily.
I gotta plug this in, but I'm still the host. I'm still doing the show. Amazing! I can't wait to hear those 2 minutes.
Me too.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's the thing, is that we can either tell ourselves or condition ourselves that we can approach this differently. The most that I've been seeing online and secularly is having to do with people's health and exercise. I've seen so much where people are like, I just got an email today from the YMCA where I have a membership. It's like, here are some workout at home ideas. And I'm thinking to myself, does this count as my membership, or is this the way you're getting around that?
That's hilarious.
Wait a minute. Thanks for the email and all, but I don't know if this is worth $100 a month or whatever.
Before I exercise on my own, I want to know I'm not owing you anything for that.
Exactly. But
Wait a second.
So many other walks of life are saying, all right, this is a reality. Let's adjust to it, and let's. And yet in the church, certainly plenty of people are doing that. But I'm also hearing a lot of people going, "Oh, this is, I mean, you could say the same thing about your gym. Like, I don't want to hang out in my basement and pull up on the door frame. That's not as fun as going to the life cycle equipment. No, it's not, but it's the only option.
Right.
You don't have an option to go to the gym, and we don't have an option to go to church and celebrate the way we normally do. So therefore, what's our other option? And I think really, as of right now, it's Monday of Holy Week. All of us as Catholics got to get serious about, we get to make the choice now. I mean, back in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses says, I set before you today life or death. Choose life. And what is set before us is Holy Week that is different. You can choose to go, oh, now it just feels like some other week, or I don't want to watch it on my laptop or whatever. Or you can choose to do this. Now, specifically, that's going to look different for a lot of people, but I think the initial step has got to be that choice in our hearts that says, I can this is up to me. I can choose. We have free will. I can choose. So I can choose if it's in the realm of physical fitness. I can choose to, eat lots of ice cream and go, well, when the gym opens, I'll go back to the gym. I mean, that's usually for me, that's usually how I approach it. And the same thing is with church. We can say, well, I mean, maybe they got to postpone it, or maybe got to wait till next year, Holy Week or whatever. Or we can choose, how will I genuinely enter into the passion, suffering, death, and resurrection of the Lord? Because that's important for me to do spiritually. If I can't do it exactly the way I'm normally used to doing it, how can I do it this year? I think we got to choose that. If we haven't done that already, we got to start right now.
And I wouldn't want to say that it's better. I don't think it's better that we're doing this, but I think it's very good that we're learning new ways of doing things. We're learning new ways to kind of push the envelope on ways to celebrate together and to be with one another and to even do these religious practices together. Yeah. And I love your point about the fact that this is wildly different than other disasters in that we can prepare now. We know what's happening. If a tornado hits and then you have to figure stuff out, that's totally different. So I think we have the opportunity to create some new paradigms here that is good for us in the long run.
And I've seen, God bless so much of the church that is really stepping up, and in a short amount of time. I've heard some people that work in publishing, or some other writers or music producers or whatnot. They're saying, I'm used to working on a much longer timeline here, but have said, but because of this crisis, I'm going to throw up a website real quick, have some suggestions. I've seen a lot of people with a little like Holy Week at home kit, and you download this, and here's this for free, or here's some like resources and stuff. So there's a lot of that out there. We can put a couple links on our radio blog if you're really looking for ideas. But I think in addition to the specific ideas, the general embracing of it can come from us. And honestly, even if there's no specific ideas, if the general embracing of it comes, then that's where God acts anyway, in our heart, right? Christina, what do you think? It's a Holy Week. You were just saying the Palm Sunday, boy, it felt weird. And it certainly felt weird for me. I mean, weird because it's neither more nor less weird or better or worse. But for those of us priests that are actually in the churches with nobody in them, that's weird in a different way than someone sitting in their living room and being on a laptop. Again, I'm not going to say it was better or worse, but yes, it's been very weird this Holy Week.
Yeah, I think it's okay to admit that we're disappointed. I don't think that there's
absolutely
anything wrong with admitting that.
Sure.
However, it is still important that we find the motivation to try and make these days holy in the best way that we can. So, I want to just say to everyone out there, I'm disappointed with you. I think we're all disappointed together, but it doesn't mean that we still can't make the most of it, and we can still receive graces from this time.
Sure.
So I think I kind of want to figure out practically, okay, what can I do from my home? Of course, I can live stream mass. Right. I can join in on virtual holy hours or different kinds of even liturgy of the hour, prayers. There are plenty of parishes and priests that are live streaming prayer, serve different kinds of prayer. So doing that, I also have a friend who told me that growing up, their parents on Good Friday made everyone be silent from 12 to 3 every Good Friday.
Wow.
So there was no talking in the house from 12 to 3. There was no TV. There was no radio. There was nothing. It was just complete observing silence. And I thought that was so beautiful. Wow. And I was like, okay, that's something that I could totally do this Good Friday.
I'm sure a lot of families were going to start to institute that with their kids running around the house 24/7.
Yeah, I know, right?
We got to do this for Jesus. Be quiet, please, for 3 hours. Yeah, that's a good one.
Right. Yeah. So I think there are plenty of things we could do, whether it be even just sitting down to journal how you're feeling about this almost lack of sacraments, and being honest with God, being honest with yourself about it, but still recognizing that God is still with us. And it sounds weird to say this, but it kind of is on us to have our own Holy Week.
Yeah. Well, and things as basic as some of the rituals that we do during the Triduum, washing feet. That doesn't have to happen. Doesn't have to happen in a church. That doesn't have to happen with just priests. We can do that. Venerating, showing some sort of love and respect to the cross. I hope every one of us has got a cross in our home. Now, probably during coronavirus times, we won't do that gesture that we oftentimes do on Good Friday, which is kiss the cross. But even before this, sometimes people will approach and show reverence in some other way. I've definitely seen people bow to the cross or kneel to. It's not required that we kiss the cross. So other ways in which we can venerate that. So even if you just go through, and that's why some of these resources that I've seen bouncing around the Catholic internet are really helpful, because they'll walk you through all the, because maybe you don't remember. It's like, what do we do at Good Friday again? They'll walk you through all of these things, and maybe you can get ready. Like the reports that people were just saying from Palm Sunday is that, well, our church had us pick up palms the day before or a few days before, so that when we're sitting in the living room on Palm Sunday for the live stream, we've got them with them. So if you anticipate a little bit, and that's part of why I'm saying here we are at the beginning of Holy Week, we got to make this choice now so that it doesn't come upon us. You don't look at your watch and go, oh, hey gang, it's like 7:00 on Thursday.
Yeah.
Let's I don't know. Let's turn on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a little different. And I think that's this is what you were saying this before, Christina. So to experience Mass, whether it's technically a laptop or a live stream or TV, it feels a lot more like, those of us who are old enough to remember when you actually used to have to look at your watch and sit down and watch TV at a certain time to find your show, your favorite show. I remember when it was must-see TV Thursday
nights at 8.
The Thursday lineup. So
Friends in the Seinfeld.
Sure. And then ER was Thursday.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I had to go to bed for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you were.
There's blood. That was more dramatic. That was.
So I mean, there's the temptation that it can feel just like that. Like, oh, it's 8:02. We'll flip on the laptop and sit down and go, okay, and the kids are running around. Well, we could do that, and we could do it like watching a movie or TV show and just kind of be spectators. And quite honestly, there's the temptation to do that even when we're sitting in church. Or we can choose to be, as the Second Vatican Council said about what we do at liturgy or public prayer, is that we participate fully, actively, and consciously. Full, active, and conscious participation in the liturgy. Now, notice that it doesn't say physical touch. Notice it doesn't say you must be closer than 4 feet to somebody. So we can still fully, actively, and consciously participate in the liturgy, even in this way that we're doing it. But again, to do something consciously is a conscious choice to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So to do it fully, actively, and consciously, we're probably going to not have to look at our watch at 7:30 on Thursday night and go, oh, hey, somebody flip on the live stream and I'm still cooking in the kitchen. We're going to have to say, just like we're going to church, we got to get ready a few minutes before. If you were driving to church, you'd at least leave the house, 10, 15 minutes before. So what about 10, 15 minutes before everyone gets ready? Sit down, turn off the other stuff, the kitchen's cleaned up or whatever it is. Yeah. And maybe you've gotten some things in advance, some PDFs. So like, here's what the rituals are. Maybe get a little basin of water. And when we're watching a live stream of watching feet, maybe we actually sit here and watch feet in our living room. These are the sorts of things that we can actually do, and I would say still be in the spirit of the church's documents about how we participate in liturgy, even if we're not receiving the sacrament, even if we're not getting baptized or confirmed. There's so many ways in which we can. So the temptation is to throw out the baby with the bathwater, to make it all or nothing, just like, quite frankly, just like everything else in our society, to make it a zero sum game. It's either all or nothing, and it's not.
I was going to say something similar. Like many things inside and outside the church, you're going to get out of it what you put in. So if you put in the extra effort to make this special for yourself, you're going to feel that back. If you kind of just sit back and kind of lackadaisically go through this, then yeah, that's probably going to be your experience of it. So like anywhere else, you're going to get out what you put in.
Yeah. And I think just because this Holy Week is different, it feels different. It feels like we can't participate. It doesn't make the week any less holy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing to remember for all of us. And we all have to put the effort in. So I feel like, yeah, we're all stuck at home and it can feel like I'm doing this by myself. I'm not really joining anyone else in prayer, or I'm just watching this on TV. So it feels like this exclusive thing that I'm not a part of. But I think it's important to remember that we are all doing this and we all probably feel the same way about it. And it's important to remember you're not alone.
So Team Busted Halo is going to do our part in trying to provide for you as much as we can. At bustedhalo.com, we've already got up on the site a handy guide for Holy Week, some resources. ways in which you could potentially celebrate at home. We'll also put it up in our radio blog, bustedhalo.com/radio. Some of these other things that we've seen around the Catholic internet, some Instagram accounts that we follow where if somebody says, hey, we found this and this is great and it's a free resource for your family to do during Holy Week. So we'll put all that up for you, bustedhalo.com/radio. But please, if you hear nothing else from us, genuinely choose to enter into Holy Week. In fact, that's actually what Palm Sunday is all about. It's a literal entrance into Jerusalem. That's why we start with that gospel. Well, it's like, why do you have to have two gospels? Why do you have to have a really long gospel? And then you got another gospel. Well, because if we didn't do that, we wouldn't enter into Holy Week. We begin Palm Sunday with Hosanna, Hosanna. That's what the palms are about. It's Jesus's triumphant entrance into Jerusalem. We are choosing to enter into consciously, actively, to enter into Holy Week. So we encourage you to do that. However you can do that, whether it's at home, maybe you're working, maybe you're one of the first responders or medical professionals, and you're going to be round the clock dealing with patients with coronavirus, or you're going to be sleeping. And if that's the case, then you enter in a different way. So it might be different for you, wherever you are, and whatever it is you're doing.